Hello everyone, this is just going to be a video discussing some of the key ideas to help you construct your pre-writing for project number 1. Please remember that a pre-writing is an invaluable chance for me to give you feedback on how well your starting ideas are for the major project at hand. When you look at this one for project number 1, you'll see that you're kind of starting with the most important part here, which is of course your thesis or your main claim. Now, if you were looking for examples of what this might look like, you could swing over to Blackboard, and in our project number 1 material folder, what you will see is that there's actually some sample projects that you can look through, and although these are going to be on different topics, they're still using the same criteria that you are. So you can see this is a student who wrote on religious pluralism. And within her thesis, which is actually quite strong, she said religious pluralism with the usage of interfaith dialogue opens communities too. Now, here are her 3 arguments. And remember that all 3 of these are backed up in research. The first point she makes is it allows communities to make stronger ties with one another, so to strengthen their relationships. For number 2, her second point, she said it furthers individual improvement. And then for that third point, she said it helps to resolve or avoid conflict between religions. Now, of course, we can see she clearly outlined these points between points A, B, and C. And of course, when you're looking at this, you'll see I say, please make sure that you have 3 points, but don't have anything that's a common assumption that can't be backed up in the sources that you have. Make sure you remember as well, these are not 3 personal arguments to you in the thesis, but instead they're 3 arguments that come to life in research and prove to be true. Now, of course, you could still side with these arguments, but that's not the goal of this assignment. What it is kind of aiming more so to do is to present to an academic audience, well, what does current research, right? Research within the last 3 years have to say about 3 key arguments to be paying attention to within the realm of this topic. When you move on to number 2, you can just answer in a few sentences per question or per bullet point, right? What is the issue or topic? Who is being affected and where is it taking place? And then, of course, you can think about charting what we'd call a miniature timeline. How did it begin and when did it begin? So this is all information that would go into your introductory paragraph. And what's useful about ordering it this way and kind of putting it in an outline format here at the beginning is I can try to help you keep it in this format and structure, or I can try to help you reformat and reconfigure some things as well if needed. When you move on to source information, one thing I should remind us of, and I should have maybe even said it sooner, is just make sure that you are citing in text the entire time you fill this pre-writing out. You do not need a works cited page, but you should have a parenthetical citation for any information you put in here that comes from a source. That should just be parentheses, the author, author's last name or names, and the page number or page range. When you move on here, you're going to kind of start beginning to prove that thesis. So whatever your first point in the thesis, we'll pretend we're this student. The fact that interfaith dialogue opens communities to make stronger ties. Well, religious pluralism, right? Which uses interfaith dialogue. Our first point within the pre-writing would be how those stronger ties come to life. How research proves that this interfaith dialogue results in this. So you would actually be using the textual support that you plan to include in the project here. So you can paraphrase or you can quote, but as you can see, I did put it in bold. Make sure you cite. Do your best to not just drop a quote in here. Try to integrate it the same way you plan to in the project. It doesn't need to be perfect, but that will help me better understand how you plan to engage with these quotes and also help you narrow down which ones seem to be strongest and most beneficial to your grade and your writing purpose. Then you repeat the same thing with your second point in your thesis, and then, of course, your third one. And then what you're going to do beyond that is you're actually going to pause and ask yourself, what is it that I think I need to pause and really reflect on? Right. So when you're thinking about choosing a few pieces of evidence that really stand out to you as something you feel strongly about, what do you plan to kind of agree with and disagree with? So when you go back through here, we've talked about how the goal of the assignment isn't to have a thesis that has 3 arguments personal to you, but you are going to engage with those arguments as a scholar later in the project. So you might begin trying to pick and choose, well, which pieces of research do I agree with? Which pieces do I not? And if it's somewhere that you see a point that you don't necessarily have a strong opinion, that might not be the best place to begin. I also have asked you at the very end here, what is it that you're trying to prove and why do you think your topic is diverse? Now, when we say diverse in this context, all we mean is multiple areas of study are aiming to discuss this topic, maybe solve the problems at hand within it, so on and so forth. It doesn't necessarily have to be a topic related to diversity or a diverse subject, meaning in its subject matter. It's just if you're able to find a topic that lots of different fields of study come at from different angles, that means that it is diverse. So if it's in the databases, it's diverse enough to be engaged with for this assignment. Hopefully this video was somewhat useful. Please always reach out to me if you have questions, and I'm super excited to see what you all produce.